Let's jump right in. The first one is the most basic. We see this one all the time, and it's solve for b. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger for you. Solve for b, and we have a equals 1/2 BH. You probably have this one in your notes actually already worked out, haven't you? The thing we need to get used to is when we have a fraction, how do we get rid of that? We multiply by the denominator or by the reciprocal. That's when we flip a fraction upside down, by the inverse, okay? So I'm going to multiply by 2 on both sides, and that cancels that out. So on the left-hand side now I have 2a, and on the right-hand side I have bh. Now our goal is to get b by itself, so we're going to divide by h on both sides. When I do that, the h's are gone, and I'm left with 2a over h. Cool? Next one. Next one I like it is doing all multiplication, so it makes it a little bit easier. I'm trying to get p by itself in this one. There's p. What's happening to the p is that it's being multiplied by rt. So if I want to get rid of it, I need to do the opposite. What's the opposite of multiply? So instead of multiplying by rt, I'm going to divide by rt on both sides. And then look at my answer choices. Which one is I divided by rt? Well, there it is. Okay, not bad. Next one. All right, this one we're finding a, which is right there. I'm going to show you a secret way to do it, okay? We can do it the normal way, but I'm going to do it the secret way, okay, because I like that one better. It's a minus a, not just an a. So if I want to get the a by itself, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a to both sides. And that might be weird that I'm moving the a instead of moving the other stuff, but what happens when I do that is I get 2b equals 5 plus a. Now the a is positive. Now all I have to do is subtract 5 from both sides. And I get 2b minus 5 equals a. And let me check my answer choices. If I use the symmetric property, I can flip that around and I get
Wait, to follow
C.
up with the last quiz, we have to read the I cells.
Mm-hmm.
Dang, you haven't done it.
Number four, we have the area is actually pi r squared, so the area of a circle. We're trying to get r by itself. R is right there. We've got to do two things. We've got to get rid of the pi. What's the pi doing? Well, it's multiplying, right? So how do we get rid of it? So we're going to divide by pi, which might feel weird, but that's okay. We're just moving it the way it needs to be moved. So divide by pi, and we get a over pi equals r squared. Now I got to get the r by itself. And how do we undo a square? We do the square root. So we're going to do the opposite, which is square root. So if I square root both sides, now I can tell that my answer jumps right out at me. It's the one with the square root of a over pi. Cool? Number 5. What is the solution for x? So again, we have a variable. We're just trying to get it away from everything else. I'm going to leave it right where it is on the right-hand side, but I'm going to subtract the b, and I'm going to divide by m. Remember, we're doing the inverse operation, so whatever's happening to that x right now, we're doing the opposite in the opposite order. So I'm going to subtract b, and I can't get anything when I do y minus b. It's just y minus b. And all I have to do is split that m from there. It's multiplied, so we're going to divide. But when I divide, I have to divide the whole thing by m. So I can either write it like that, like it's one big fraction, which is, by the way, my answer there, a, or I can split it up and divide each of them by m. Okay? Number 6, speaking of which, we're solving this for L. That's an L, and there's an L right there. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to get that by itself. Right now, the easiest thing I can do is just go ahead and get rid of the minus 2w on both sides. And now it's p minus 2w equals 2l. I made it a little cursive, so it might be easier to tell it's an L, not a 1. And then we need to get the L by itself, so I'm just going to divide by 2. So I'm going to divide the whole side by 2. You could have split it up and done p divided by 2 and 2 divided by 2 and done 2 terms. But if you look over here, our answer is actually right there. So I saw some people get this wrong because they got focused on having it p over 2 minus w. And they couldn't tell that, oh, the answer is right there. Number 7, the volume of a pyramid, 1/3 BH. Again, we have a fraction. We're trying to get the h by itself, but the problem is we have that 1/3 there. In order to get rid of a fraction, it's multiplied, so we're going to multiply by the inverse or the reciprocal. So we're going to multiply by 3/1. So we would end up with 3v equals b times h. But I don't want bh, I just want h. So I'm going to divide by b because it's multiplying, and I want the opposite. I want to cancel it out. Now I have 3v over b. 3v over b is right there. Cool. Number 8. What is the solution for L? That's an L. So we're trying to get L by itself. Right now, L is doing, this is one of my favorite ones, whenever they have just multiplication. So I can get rid of just multiplication by just doing division. I'm going to divide by WH on both sides. And we already saw one kind of like this. V over WH. Cool, cool? And that cancels out there. Number 9, we're trying to solve for P. Right now, P is not by itself because it's got this minus 3R and it's also multiplied by 6. I'm not going to divide by 6 first because it would make things very, very ugly. I'd have decimals and fractions, and it'd be easy to just add 3R to both sides. That I can do without making a big mess. If I do that, I have 6P equals 10 plus 3R. Now I'm going to make a big mess because I have to get rid of that 6 by dividing by 6. Remember I said that we had to divide the whole side by 6 or each term by 6, which means I end up having to do this. And what makes it ugly is that none of my answer choices even have a 6 in it except for the last one, and I know it's not that one. They did the multiplication there. So where did everything go if they had no 6s in there? What do they do? They simplified the fractions. So 10 over 6, if we were to simplify that, we can take a 2 out of the top and bottom. If we take a 2 out of 10, we get 5, and we take a 2 out of 6, we get 3. And the second one, we got 3 over 6. That's just 1/2. So we end up with, which one? It's not the one with 3R. We have 1/2 R, so it's not that one. Which one has 1/2? Oh, I can see they've just done it over 2. So this one's minus and this one's plus. So it ends up being A. You're dead on. Last one. This one, we're getting n by itself right now. What's happening to the n? It's getting multiplied by 2 things. So we're going to get rid of both of them at once by dividing by RT. And that would cancel out my R and cancel out my T. If I go over here and divide by RT, nothing cancels out. So I end up with PV over RT. All right? Any questions on literal equations? You going to retake it and get 100? What? Okay, but I think you should get 100. Go for 100. All right, think about it. That's it.